When you find yourself burning in the heat, smoking in the smoke, and steaming in the steam, I just want you to know that God is preparing you for something bigger than yourself. And when he's ready to expose you, he's going to expose you to greatness. David found himself in an uncomfortable place. Even after he was anointed king, he was still an errand boy. He was the one that his father told him to run errands. And even on the day when he defeated Goliath, his father sent him on an errand and said to him, go and give your brothers food. Little did David know that that was his day of greatness. Little did David know that that was the day God was going to announce him. Little did David know that that was the day God was going to exalt him and glorify him in front of all of Israel. Just like Joseph, he dreamt of authority but found himself in obscurity when he was thrown into the pit, when he was thrown into prison. He dreamt of light when the sun, moon, and stars were bowing down before him. But he found himself in darkness, in the pit, and in prison. He found himself in the exact opposite of his dream. If God gave you that dream, then he knows just how to position you for it. He gave you that vision. He knows how to prepare you for it. He gave you that destiny. He knows how to design you for it. Let us look at the life of Jesus. Jesus is the Son of the living God, the King of kings and the Lord of lords. But where did he find himself? He did not find himself in the palace. He found himself in the manger, where there were horses and sheep and all other animals. I can imagine how uncomfortable the manger would be. But sometimes God keeps you away from the comfortable place and takes you to the uncomfortable place simply because he wants to prepare you. And when God prepares you, he glorifies you. Somebody is due for glory. Are you in an uncomfortable place? Could it be that God might be behind it? Egypt may not be your destination, but it could be the only place that gets you to your destination. Joseph was in Egypt. The Israelites were in Egypt. Even Jesus was in Egypt. Are you wondering why things are moving in the opposite direction of your expectation? Why things are not working or moving the way you expect? Nobody can tell how great you are, so they never give you an opportunity or a platform for expression. But it is not the platform that makes you great. It is your greatness that makes the platform. Nobody might see you right now. That's because God is preparing you. Preparation never happens on the table or on a stage or on a platform. It happens in an uncomfortable place. It happens at the backside in isolated places. Just like food prepared in the kitchen under heat. But by the time the dish is served on the table, it becomes a beautiful sight indeed. Preparation stage is never really pleasant. It is usually uncomfortable. God will never prepare you in the open. He prepares you in secret. Where you are unseen, where there is no applause or applaud. God will never prepare you on the scene, but he prepares you behind the scene. Let's look at David. God was preparing David for the battle with Goliath, and God was training him in the fields. God was training him in the fields where it was isolated. God was preparing him for the battle of Goliath. God prepared him by bringing a lion his way. God prepared him by bringing a bear his way. No wonder when he got to the field to fight with Goliath, he was able to aim successfully at Goliath's forehead, and he was able to knock the giant down. God may be preparing you. God may be preparing you for something great that is ahead of you. But are you ready for God's preparation? When God is preparing you, It might be uncomfortable, but you've got to be able to take the heat. You've got to be able to take the fire. You've got to be able to take the smoke. If not, you'll never be fully ready for what God is about to do in your life. God never moves in the direction you think he's going to move. He is unpredictable and mysterious in all his ways, and at the same time, he is perfect in all his ways. The amazing thing about God is he never moves in our own way. He always moves in his own way. When you think things are slow, it is because God doesn't need your pace to make things happen. He allows things to happen at his own pace. And when things happen at his own pace, it is sure that it will be marvelous in your eyes. And not just your eyes, but in the eyes of everyone around you. The Israelites had to go down to Egypt because that was their route to freedom. That was their route to crossing the Red Sea. Mary and Joseph had to go down to Egypt. Even Jesus had to go down to Egypt. How comfortable can you be in an unfamiliar place? Joseph and Mary, the mother and father of Jesus, had to take Jesus to Egypt, to a place that they were unfamiliar with. The Bible makes it clear that the Lord appeared to Joseph and told him, take the young child to Egypt, for Herod is seeking to kill him. Egypt was a place they were not familiar with. It must have been an uncomfortable place for them, but God was keeping them. God was hiding them. God was preparing them for something greater ahead of them. And the Lord said, stay in Egypt until I bring you word, because Herod is seeking to kill that young child. They must have stayed in Egypt for quite a while, and it must have been an uncomfortable place for them because they were unfamiliar with Egypt. Sometimes God takes you through a journey, and the journey might be an uncomfortable place. Sometimes God takes you through a route, and it might feel uncomfortable, but God has a greater plan ahead of you. God doesn't need your way or pace or timing to bless you. He blesses you at a time when the blessing will magnify you. So don't be anxious when you expect things to happen or to move at a certain time and in a certain way. Just as God told Joshua in the book of Joshua chapter 3 verse 7. God told Joshua that he will magnify him in the sight of all Israel. God is not going to give you a blessing when nobody won't see it. He's going to give you a blessing that speaks. Not just an ordinary blessing, but a blessing that speaks volume. God's timing speaks for itself. God's pace speaks for itself. God's blessing speaks for itself. Some people may have to do so much to get to a certain height in life, but you will only have to do so little because God's pace will automatically announce you. God's timing will automatically make the little things that you do to look like big things. And that's how he will announce you and glorify you. Because he's a God that magnifies little things into great things. He magnifies ordinary things into extraordinary things. You might be in an uncomfortable place, an unfamiliar place, and you are wondering why things aren't moving. You know and feel so strongly that there is greatness in you, but you are the only one who sees it. No one else sees it enough to give you a platform. That is because God is still preparing you, and he won't allow anybody to see you until he has finished preparing you. Nobody knew who David was because God was preparing him. But the moment he stepped into the field and he killed Goliath, everybody began to ask questions. Who is David? Who is David? Why? Because by that time, God has finished preparing him. Are you wondering why things are slow in your life? Are you wondering why things are not moving in your life? Are you wondering why nobody sees you, nobody recognizes you? It's because God is preparing you, and he's not going to let anyone see you until he finishes preparing you. And when God finishes preparing you, he takes you to the battlefront, and you are able to conquer, and you come out with victory. You come out victorious. And when God finishes preparing you, he gives you a platform of greatness, a platform where everybody will recognize you. Everybody will see that indeed the hand of God is upon this one. You have a call of greatness, but you don't feel great. Just like David, he was anointed king, but he still remained a shepherd. That is because God was preparing him. God was preparing him for that crown. You may feel great. You may feel right now that you have some greatness inside of you, but nobody sees you. That is because God is preparing you. He's preparing you for that crown that belongs to you. He's preparing you for that stage that belongs to you. He's preparing you for that platform that belongs to you. And when God prepares you, nobody can take that away from you. When God prepares you, he glorifies you, and nobody can take his glory away from you. When God prepares you, he favors you, and nobody can take his favor away from you. David was anointed king, but he did not feel great. He still remained a shepherd boy. David found himself in an uncomfortable place even after he was anointed king. Why? Because God knew that David was not ready for the palace. God was preparing David in the fields for the palace. God was preparing David behind the scenes for the stage. A shepherd boy, all of a sudden, became king. Why? Because he had passed the preparation stage. And God knew that it was now time for him to be in the palace. It was time for him to wear that crown. This is for somebody listening today. You have dreams of greatness, but you don't feel great. Things become worse, and you wish that you never had a dream. Sometimes when you don't know what is happening with your dreams, with your calling, with your talents, with your gifts, with your vision, God is preparing you. You may not understand it, but you are in the preparation stage. He is preparing you for something big, and when he's ready to expose you, he's going to expose you to greatness, and he's going to glorify you before your very eyes, and not just before your very eyes, but before the eyes of everyone around you. I just want to encourage somebody today. So if you find yourself in an uncomfortable place, if you find yourself in Egypt, do not feel discouraged, but let God prepare you for that greatness he's about to bring into your life. Let God prepare you for that great plan that he has for your life.